Guys, this video I will be looking at a video by company man called The Rise and Fall and Rise Again of WWE. I don't know what to expect, but this should be interesting. You're ready? I'm ready. Let's go.
The WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment. There have been countless criticisms about them over the years, but nobody can deny their impact on professional wrestling. They essentially transformed it into what we know it as today, and remain the biggest promotion out there. But despite maintaining such dominance over the sport, they have been through some tough times. The WWE has gone through some major ups and downs over the years. I'm talking about on the creative end, on the financial end, their reputation. I mean, this is a crazy story.
Especially
so
the creative.
Today, I want to try to tie it all together as I highlight the multiple eras and the corresponding rises and falls of the WWE. And of course, the main person behind most of this is Vince McMahon, maybe one of the most polarizing figures out there, but he has been the person behind the WWE. He is the third generation of the McMahon family to be involved in professional wrestling, but easily the one who has made the biggest impact on it. I mean, almost anything that characterizes wrestling today, he was the one who either developed it or popularized it. His father owned a promotion that would feature matches in the northeastern part of the United States, mainly in New York City and Philadelphia. Well, in 1982, when his father was sick, Vince bought the business from him, at the time called the WWF, and quickly made some major changes that led to its initial rise in what has been commonly referred to as the Golden Age.
Okay, hold on, because if I remember correctly, it used to be called the WWF, and then I think Vince comes in and becomes WWF. I remember there being an extra W somewhere, so that may be something I have to check after.
He expanded their reach by acquiring smaller regional promotions and by paying local TV stations to air their matches. But the revolutionary part of it was his decision to embrace the entertainment aspect of it, turning the events into spectacles, featuring big personalities acting out scripted storylines, celebrity guests, even admitting to having predetermined outcomes for entertainment purposes to avoid regulations that applied to more traditional sports. Maybe the perfect example of all of it was the first ever WrestleMania in 1985. The main event featured Mr. T wrestling alongside Hulk Hogan, who had both gained popularity for their roles in Rocky III, and by the way, co-hosted Saturday Night Live together as an effort to promote the big event the day before it happened. There were celebrity guests involved like Cyndi Lauper and Muhammad Ali. It was a crazy show that was successful enough to be followed by over 30 more WrestleManias and hundreds of other pay-per-view events. Maybe the absolute peak of the Golden Age was WrestleMania 3, where over 93,000 people in the Pontiac Silverdome watched Hulk Hogan win the championship against Andre the Giant. Professional wrestling and the WWF became a phenomenon, with the biggest wrestlers of the time becoming household names. However, the popularity quickly began to fall entering the 1990s with what has been labeled the New Generation era.
Comic book era? And we have an ad. But he has said some very interesting things. You know, the 93,000 thing, a lot of people like to debate because WWE, and I'm trying to correct something in the back here, WWE they say they have a tendency of inflating figures. Sometimes it has been proven, but you know, still a very impressive number. Even if it wasn't 93,000, it had to be 80 something. So
here is just to say that people were getting tired of it. The gimmicks were wearing off, things had become repetitive, there weren't enough marketable wrestlers to maintain people's attention, but there were some more tangible things to point to as well, like the World Bodybuilding Federation. That did not help the company. It was like an attempted bodybuilding spin-off of the WWF.
That's where Lex Luger started.
A flop and shut down after only 2 years. There were also multiple scandals involving the WWF emerging. Notably, in 1994, Vince McMahon was charged by the U.S. Department of Justice, saying that he conspired to distribute steroids to WWF wrestlers, pretty much accusing him of giving his wrestlers drugs to make them stronger. Hulk Hogan testified that he had been taking steroids, but Vince never encouraged him to do it. He was facing years in prison, but was acquitted after an 18-day trial. You can imagine the kind of rumors and negative publicity that all of that caused. Maybe the biggest reason for their decline in the 1990s was new competition, mainly from WCW. I have an entire video talking about WCW if you want to hear more about it, but
yeah, and if you want me to check this video out, let me know in the comments. I think I'd like to check this out, but it all depends on you guys. Let me know if I should check it out.
In short, they were a competing promotion that was investing a lot of money to try to draw viewers away from the WWF. They had an opposing show called Monday Nitro, airing directly against Monday Night Raw, and for well over a year, it was actually beating Raw in ratings.
83
WCW
weeks,
was
damn it.
attracting key wrestlers away from the WWF, including Hulk Hogan, and things were looking bad. Now, I'm sure that any wrestling fan watching this is familiar with the Montreal Screwjob.
Ooh.
It's quite a name, but in short, Bret Hart was one of those popular wrestlers making that transition over to WCW. So in his final WWF match, he unfairly lost the title to Shawn Michaels under secret orders from Vince McMahon. The ref was instructed to act like Hart had submitted even though he didn't, and that is considered to be a major turning point of the WWF.
It was.
Kind of like the unofficial start of the next rise with the Attitude Era. In an effort to separate themselves from WCW, the WWF became wild. I'm talking about more violence and sexuality and I guess more attitude than ever before.
Dang.
Monday Night Raw was given a TV-14 rating because there was a lot of stuff happening on there that you may not want your little kid watching.
Yeah, and I there were rumors from about 3 months ago that they were going to go back to TV-14. That has not happened. If it will happen, Triple H is definitely the right guy at the ship. But then again, with what they've been giving us on TV, even though there's a PG rating, it's been pretty fun. It's been pretty fun. All you need is a good product, and you're good. Clearly, they've proven that so many times in the course of Triple H's run as head of creative.
They introduced their famous scratch logo. Mr. McMahon became a villainous wrestling personality that had this great feud going on with Stone Cold Steve Austin. There was some entertaining stuff happening, generally believed to be way more entertaining than the gimmicks over at WCW. Raw had quickly pulled back ahead of Nitro, and in 2001, the WWF officially won the Monday Night Wars when they bought WCW. During that era, their revenue grew to about 5 times higher, their income became way more stable, the total attendance at their events more than doubled, and the number of people buying the pay-per-view events more than tripled. To this day, the Attitude Era is believed to be the best era in their existence, as reflected in this official poll conducted on their website. I don't want to talk too much about this time period because it's already probably the most talked about period of wrestling.
Wow,
even though the Ruthless Aggression era is still fairly well liked, it did start with a less dramatic but still noticeable decline in their business. Overall popularity as far as attendance and pay-per-view orders went back down a bit. So even though things weren't terrible, I'm going to qualify this as their next fall. I have to bring it up. The XFL.
The Ruthless Aggression as a fall period, it's something I'm a bit iffy on because of course you had The Rock, Stone Cold leaving, new stars coming, the OVW4. You had legends like Undertaker still hanging back but having second primes. So yeah, it was. I mean, I started watching wrestling at the tail end of the Ruthless Aggression era, and it was fun. That's what sticks out to me. But then again, there's a lot of older fans, so it does make sense that they would prefer that Attitude Era to what has followed. Definitely, we can all agree that the new era, the reality era, has been it wasn't great. And then Triple H came up and all good. I'm putting Triple H over a lot. WWE signed me.
Part of it. Again, I have an entire video about it, but in 2001, they teamed up with NBC to start an Extreme Football League to compete with the NFL. It did not do well. There was too much wrestling involvement. It was dangerous. The skill level of the players was questionable, and people weren't too interested in watching it. It was shut down after that season due to poor ratings, and all the money that they lost from it is responsible for their dip in net income that they reported that year. But back to the wrestling end, despite WCW being gone, they were still losing some of their biggest stars. Arguably the biggest star of the Attitude Era was Stone Cold Steve Austin, and that's the bottom line. But in January of 2000, he missed a lot of time due to a seemingly overdue neck surgery. And then even when he came back, he turned heel. People didn't seem to like him as a bad guy. More issues followed, and things were never the same.
This guy really watches
also one of the biggest stars of the previous era, and he was absent through a lot of 2001, so he can go and film a movie called The Scorpion King. It's worth mentioning that they changed their name going into this new era due to the initials overlapping with the World World Wildlife Fund. Though I have to say, they did promote the name change with some clever commercials.
Oh yeah.
Also, it can be argued that there was just a certain magic captured in the previous era that just couldn't go on forever. It saved the company, it put them back on the map, and they simply fell back down a bit following that initial explosion. Alright, here's the controversial part of the video. Their next and final rise occurred with the PG era, and I know there are many wrestling fans here that will say that the WWE just continued going downhill from there. I mean, referring back to that poll, it seems crazy to suggest that there was a rise going into the PG era, which
I think the thing here is, I think we can all agree that collectively, you know, I mean, a lot of things happened. There wasn't any color anymore. I'm trying to use the PG for blood. There wasn't really, those edgy storylines weren't there anymore because they were trying to pander to children. And WWE has traditionally always been like a, you know, a teen, from a teen stand, like 14 and upwards. That's when you start watching. So the fact that they were trying to pander to children in that respect. From a creative standpoint, yes, they were dwindling, but it was reeling in a lot of revenue. You know, from one of the earlier graphs he did show, and generally from what we've come to know about WWE in general. So yeah, I can't see why it caused the rise. Just creatively, it was a bit of a fall because there were so many elements that were taken out.
by the way, it's not their definition, but for many, it still expands into the present, and that's how I'm going to be treating it. It's called the PG era because after almost a decade of violent craziness happening on Monday Night Raw, the WWE decided to scale it back and become more family-friendly. So the TV-14 rating that was given to the show during the Monday Night Wars was brought back down to PG. And even though many people have argued that the family-friendly approach makes for a less entertaining show, it actually benefits them quite a bit. It broadens their audience to include younger fans, who tend to be a big demographic for professional wrestling, and it makes them more advertiser-friendly. If people aren't showing covered in blood or whatever, it makes brands more willing to be associated with them.
And they get more money.
It's hard to deny the financial impact that this has had, just about doubling their revenue since the rating was put into effect, and surpassing $1 billion for the first time ever in 2021. When we break down that $1 billion, some of it comes from live events and consumer products, but like 85% of it comes from media. And when we further break down those media figures, over 200 million of it comes from their network and pay-per-views. In 2014, they started the WWE Network as its own streaming service, and within a year, it had over 1 million subscribers, paying $10 a month. Doing some quick math, it tells me that they were already collecting over $120 million a year just from that, which, by the way, is more than their total yearly revenue from back when they were having trouble in the 1990s. In 2021, they made a deal with Peacock for them to have exclusive streaming rights of the network, so that deal, combined with the pay-per-views, is what makes up that $215 million. They do collect money from sponsors and other stuff, but more than half of all of their revenue comes from their TV shows, licensing.
And it's about to get a lot bigger, I'm sure. You know, WWE has been signing deals with other territories to have, like with, I think the Philippines, they have a Disney Plus Hotstar partnership there to broadcast live events and stuff. In Africa, they have the WWE network because not WWE network, WWE channel in HD because they have a partnership with Super Sport. They are about to make, and I don't know if this interests you, I'm just putting it out there, but they are going to make, we have a streaming service here called Showmax. We have Netflix and everything, but we have an indigenous African streaming service called Showmax. I almost said Netflix there. So it's called Showmax, and from what I read a few weeks ago, the WWE network is about to, you know, go on to Showmax, sort of what they did with Peacock, which is really, really smart because I had a WWE network subscription. I had to cancel it because inflation and everything is just, it's bonkers right now over here, and it just doesn't make sense to have certain things where you can save money. So Showmax is about to become about to host the WWE. I'm sorry, I'm so excited about this. Showmax is about to have the WWE network on it, just in the same way that Peacock has it. So it's it's pretty lucrative. Also, WWE is doing recruitments in Africa. I will talk about this in a separate video, but I'm really excited. But yeah, man, it's really cool. It's really cool to see this.
revenues from NBC and Fox for them to air Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, combining for 7 hours of original programming
Every
each
week.
So even though many fans don't agree with the family-friendly direction they have taken,
Double,
and even
it goes
argue
up to
that things
10
have
if it's
become too
premium live
repetitive
events
and pointless
season.
to justify
At
so
times.
many hours of content, those are the exact things that have allowed them to gain a specific following that has led to these large multi-year contracts.
Oh, yeah.
We also have to remember that the WWE is a public company. In 1999, when they were in the middle of their comeback, they took advantage of it by having an initial public stock offering.
Pins
So
IPO.
from that point,
That's an
they
interesting
have had
tagline.
investors that are concerned with financial results and oftentimes want to see them fast. When that's the case, it can be hard to take risks that may not pay off for a while, and it just makes sense to settle into something that's seemingly profitable and stable.
Hold on, I need to take this call really quickly.
And considering that they are currently more profitable than they have ever been before, I don't know
See?
if we can expect any major changes anytime soon. Let me know in the
Well,
comments.
there was
what
one.
do you think about the WWE? Have you been a fan for a while? Have you experienced these different eras with the various ups and downs? Keep in mind, I did my best to keep the video more about the company itself and for a general audience, but
And he's
not
done
going
very
into
well
too
with
much
it.
detail, and only by sticking to what I believe to be the biggest reasons behind these changes. Though I should mention that in 2022,
okay.
77-year-old Vince McMahon stepped down from being the company's chairman and CEO in the middle of more scandals. So that could potentially lead to more changes. There have been some rumors circulating.
Yeah.
So what do you see for the future of the WWE, both financially and creatively? Does something need to change? Are they doing well the way things are? What do you think? And any other thoughts you have about the WWE and...
Right, man. I was about to question how recent the video was because the whole Vince McMahon thing hadn't come out yet. But yeah, okay, 2 weeks ago. Interesting. Man, this was actually a very good video. I enjoyed it. I like how he tackled it. You know, there was always a graph to support these rises and falls. And he spoke about it from an economic standpoint, which is very interesting. And it does make sense why they made some decisions. You know, more money you make, the more you're incentivized to make similar decisions that made you the money to start with. So that's definitely something. Anyway, I'm done. This was a great video. Comment down below. Let me know what you thought about this. Subscribe to this channel. Please like this video. Check out this other video from my channel, YouTube Things You Enjoyed. Prove them right. And I will see you in another one. Take care. Peace, my G's.